This week on my first win, I learned to hit a driver somewhere near a fairway. I have possibly the greatest lesson I've ever had that can help every single golfer in a happy little world now. And we head out to Selby to play our second event on the 2020 Pro Tour and try and secure the first win. So it's been 2 weeks since the first competition, and the more I've had time to reflect on it, I'm actually quite upbeat about the result. And I think the reason that I am more upbeat is because this series, my first win, has actually got me going towards a target and getting me actually excited about my golf. That's actually very close. For instance, over the past 6 weeks, I've actually had more lessons and hit more golf balls here in my sim, out on the golf course at the driving range, than I have in the past 2 years. Right, it is the day that we are going to get possibly the lesson that I need the most on my game. We're going to go now and see Carl Morris. It's looking a little bit cold, the sun is poking, but it's going to be bitter. We're going to head out. This is, like I say, one thing that I think my golf needs the most. If we can sort out the old Swede and get some information from him, I think we're off on the right track. I think as well, do you ever find with like, when it's not going you, especially at golf, when you just like, oh, like you just feel like you're, and obviously the way I've been accepting shots as well, it just feels like it's just been torrent abuse. Yeah. As well. Now I'm like, oh, yeah, I don't really care what's happening on the course. I just had a hole in one, it's great.
Well, you do.
Yeah, I obviously care, but I'm like, yeah, I just hit a shot there that was, you know, a little bit sky-toed as well. I probably would have snapped my shaft a week ago.
One other thing that will go with this is that what I call the difference between patterns and shots. So when you go and play golf, what most people do, they just react to shots.
Yeah.
Now, there's never enough information in an individual shot to tell you what you actually did. You know, it's, why did you hit it 30 yards right? Well, any number of things could cause it to go up. Well, we know the face is up. There's a lot of things that can be happening to cause it to go right. What people do is get so lost in trying to fix an individual shot. Instead, if you say to yourself, I'm going to go and play golf, and I'm not going to react to shots, I'm going to look for patterns.
Yeah.
So if, let's say you've played today and the pattern is you hit half a dozen tee shots that have snapped left, that's a pattern.
Yeah.
Now we need to get back in the garage with Damian and fix the engine if there's a definite pattern.
Yes.
But what you've done is you've ended up reacting to shots, you've not been looking for patterns.
Yes, yeah, that makes sense, yeah. And then I've got into a pattern of bad thinking.
Yeah.
So it's the day after the Carl Morris lesson, and I can honestly say that that is one of the best videos I think we will do this year. The information that is in that lesson is incredible. If I would have had that before I played my first comp, I honestly think I would have saved myself like 3-4 shots, because there's a little method in there, the 1, 2, 3 method. If you haven't watched the video, please go and do watch it, because it just flipped a switch in my mind as to how I see like the game of golf almost. Like for the past 4 or 5 years, how I've been playing, it's all been outcome focused, something that I've not been in control of. And he'll explain that in the video, you have to just go and watch it. But this little system that he gave me, and then a little program that he wants me to do, honestly, I'm so excited, and I can't wait to get to the next competition, and just, even if I can get 10% of it in, it's going to be an improvement. One thing I do need to improve though before I get to my next comp is I need to find a driver swing, because that hasn't been a strong point over the last few years. It's time to go and see Damian. Oh, if you haven't watched the video, by the way, there might just be another hole-in-one in that video. Go and watch it.
To the top stop, and then the same feelings we've talked about here, you know, move the muscle, keep the ball there into position. So it's still into position, and then it's from there, that's there. Once you've moved down here into position, that's when now you bang, you're lining the shaft up. What you're referring to there, them first 2 shots, is when you've gone this way And then all that's done, this has come with it, and that's where you've hit a dead left shot.
Yeah,
That's
definitely, yeah, that's the feel, yeah.
So up to the top again to get the correct feel. So split the hands, up to the top, stop. So it's that first move down, that's it. And then once you're into here, that's now when you can allow that club head. There you go, that's the sort of feel. So again, lining that, feels like you're lining the shaft up. That's it, line the shaft up, there you go, line the shaft up. That's it.
Oh, I feel the club head just firing by. And I think I've been trying to achieve that by going, you know, that way, not letting the head pass the hands, just trying to rotate the face. See, that wasn't my best, but it's in play.
Kind of weird.
That is the one. And after a lesson with Damian, definitely feeling better with the driver. I've not seen shots like that in a long time. You look at the flight we get here, that tiny little draw. I'm not really trying to hit draws at the minute, like hitting it straight. The big thing for me is this, the start line. I was nowhere near able to actually get the ball started near where I wanted to for quite a long time with driver, but after just a simple little drill, and a phrase that Damian has said to me, which is straighten the shaft, which basically means that as I'm coming into impact, one of my big faults was that everything I did, I was never squaring the face up. All I ever did was drag my hands through, got the shaft steep, and as you can see there, that face is looking nowhere near the target, hence why I could never really start the ball on target. But after this little two-handed drill, split-handed drill that Damian's given me, and this, like I say, little straighten the shaft up, which we mean down at impact there, I'm feeling now that I can really start to get the ball going with driver, which has really plagued me, to be honest with you. When we've been out on the course, I've lost distance, lost control of direction, and ultimately lost shots because of it. So fingers crossed, moving forwards in my competitions, that can help me. Now, speaking of competitions, let's talk about those. So if we are going to be playing in more competitions, we need to do it properly. We need to have a proper schedule. If you think of a PGA Tour player, an LET Tour player, whoever it may be, they'll have a schedule and they'll have an idea of where they're going to be, when they want to focus their practice on certain things and gear themselves up to actually getting the most out of their games. As of now, I've just been sort of looking at the calendar thinking, well, that one will do, we can get a video, this one will do, and I've not really had a good sort of plan about how I want to go and build myself up for tournaments. So what we've done is put a schedule together, and we're going to class these first two comps as our warm-up comps just to get a card back in our hands. But what we've got now, we've got a list of 10 competitions that I'm going to play from March all the way through to September. The majority of those are going to be on the PGA Lancashire side of things, and then there's a couple others thrown in. One of those being in March, which is a secret event, which is taking place over 3 days with some other big creators. More details will follow on that when we are able to share them. So that's 10 events that we've got, 10 chances of getting my first pro win. It's time now to see how we get on in my second one. So it's time for the second event now, and my big aim really for today's event was to get into another comp, have a card in my hand, but what I wanted to do was utilize the 1-2-3 system that Carl had shown me during our time. If you haven't seen that video yet, do make sure you go and watch that, because it was a massive help when I played with him, and my aim for the round was to try and carry that into there. Obviously play some good golf, hit some good shots, try and score well, but really try and change my outlook when we get to having a card in my hand as opposed to just thinking about score, score, score. So get to the course, it is Selby, that I haven't played before, didn't have time to get up for a practice round. I have gone through it on the My Strategy part of ShotScope's app, so I was able to actually get a good thorough look at the golf course and understand where certain clubs would go on certain holes, and gave me a good plan of what I really wanted to do. And I actually felt throughout the round there wasn't really a hole that took me by surprise, a bit like we found at Huddersfield in the first one. It was pretty much as you saw it with Selby. So the My Strategy app and then the course being out there in front of you was a big help for me. But get to the course nice and early, had a warm-up, which even for these comps, I'm actually quite happy because that's something that I've not been doing going into in the red videos and other videos that we're doing. Getting the bands out, stretching, hitting chips, hitting putts, hitting some shots in the net, spending around about 40 minutes, warming up, which is, like I say, almost a little bit alien to me. So glad that we managed to do that. Now, when you get to the first tee, it is a par 4 that was stretching around about 400 yards, 420 yards, something around there. Very, very daunting. Obviously, I've had my lesson with Damian. It was a tight fairway, tree line down the left and out of bounds down the right. And we all know from previous videos that my nemesis is that big push slice. I've been working with Damian. I've had about a week's practice at my sort of new driver swing, new feeling with it. And I decided to take driver. I was a little bit in between and took driver here, and I actually pulled it left down the next fairway, which I wasn't that bothered with, as working with Carl, a 1, 2 or a 3. I was pretty much, well, that was a 2. It's not the end of the world. It's not gone out of bounds. It was just overcooked, really. Probably a little bit of fear of of going right. From there, I leave myself a 5-iron in, and I hit a great shot here over the trees, blind. I got my yardage, got my line. Just committed to that, hit a really good shot into about 12 feet. Unfortunately, the putt just left it right in the jaws, a couple of inches shy. But, as the hole goes, looking back from what we had with Carl, where it was a case of, was it good? Was it a really good shot? Was it good enough, or was it, a disaster? I would say the hole was pretty much a 1/2 there. So happy just to get that first par under my belt. Second hole, then we get to a par 5 that was a really big fairway. Unfortunately, I missed it early on. Was just trying to find this feeling with the driver. It's obviously something that I need to work at a lot more as we go through it, and I was over-egging it a little bit too much as we got into the first few holes, but pulled it down the left-hand side here. Again, left myself a 5-iron back into play, which I managed to calculate. I was tempted to maybe hit the 5 wood and push early, but I thought, don't be silly, you don't know too much what's down there. Let's get it over the trees, back in play, leave yourself a wedge, which I did, 82, 83 yards, and I hit a really good one then. The putt I actually I saw swinging more than it did. One of my playing partners had a putt from a similar position a little bit further out, and I saw his really whip as we got there, but hit the putt where I wanted to. It just didn't really move, and left myself a little tap in for a 5. So 2 pars as we get into the first 2 holes there. And as a start, I was thinking, well, I've not really hit it great off the tee, but I've managed to recover nicely. The nerves are still there a little bit. We then get on to the next, where you could have a go at it with driver, but it was dogleg left to right and to a blind green. So I thought, only 330 this hole, get a 4-iron out there. And this tee shot was sort of a trend of what was to come with the irons. A big right to left shot, struck really nicely, but just sort of starting off on target and really moving from right to left, which then left me left of the fairway with a pitching wedge left in. And this shot, this sort of summarises really what Carl was talking about. Like, we can't control the outcomes. I had 122 yards to the hole. The wind was into and slightly off the right, so I decided to hit pitching wedge 3/4, and I absolutely flushed it. It's flown over the green. It's flown its normal yardage, 135, even though I've taken a little bit off it and it was into the green. Maybe a little bit of a jumper from the lie it was in, I don't know. But walking up, I was thinking, well, do you know what? I wanted to hit this little draw around the trees. I've done that. I'm really happy with what I've done. I can't control the outcome. We get up there and it was in a pretty stinky lie, bare, muddy, sat down, horrible, and it was a really high caliber, tough shot. I was thinking to myself, just sort of hit it 15 foot by, taking chances of a putt, and just caught it the fractionist bit heavy, and it just flopped out in front of me. Like I say, it was just a pretty bad lie, and I think that's to be expected. As this round goes on, we are still, at the back end of winter, and there's not a lot of growth around the greens in certain parts, so it's, you know, it is to be expected. So unfortunately wasn't the chip I wanted to, but then hit a really good next one, because again, that wasn't sat in the best of lies, had a little bit of mud on the ball still, but managed to get it up to about 4 or 5 feet and then knock the putt in. So overall, I've walked off the hole, and having sort of learnt a little bit from Carl and saying, well, you can't control the outcome, I've done pretty much what I wanted to down the hole with the wedge. It was just a bad lie there, which has led to that bogey. Next is a par 5 round the corner, dogleg from left to right, and here I've sort of took stock of the first 2 tee shots and managed to just have a few practice swings, get my drill feeling going, and just get a little bit more awareness of the club face, and hit an absolute screamer straight down the middle. Went about 290 down this hole. I've then left myself 260 yards to the middle of the green, and the hole itself was about 550, I think it was. I've left myself on an upslope just off the edge of the fairway and hit an absolutely fantastic rescue here. Pitched it pretty much into the front portion of the green, and it stopped dead. It sort of banks up, and this one it's pitched and just stayed where it was. So on the green in 2, about 65, 70 feet here for the eagle. Trusted the putt, rolled it up on the line and left it an inch away from going in for an eagle. So a tapping birdie here, which was really nice. After making that bogey from a pretty decent shot from that pitching wedge, to make then the birdie and not be affected by the previous hole, I was really happy with this, to sort of see that mindset change and think, right, okay, well, we can do this now. Next hole, a par 3 up the hill here, the 5th hole, 118 yards to the flag. Wind off the left, and I aimed it about 15 foot left of the flag here, thinking, well, my normal fade shot should bring it back on. Struck it pretty nicely, but the ball just sort of stayed where it was. I pulled it ever so slightly and sort of pulled it through the wind, which meant I was then coming up a tier. And as we were sort of on this putting green, we'd fallen a little bit out of the pace of play here. The other group were down on the green in front. It was a drivable par 4 that we'll see in a second, but I got a little bit conscious of the pace of play here. Never got going. And instead of being involved in the putt, I was more thinking about, well, just hit it up and get it close, and then that's me done. It shouldn't be nothing putt, and wasn't really involved in it here, and a very uncharacteristic putt here. I've only got the best part of 40 feet, and I left myself an 11 footer for the par to go. So a pretty decent putt for the next one, but just shaves the hole, and a 3 putt on the green there, like I say, from nowhere, but being a little bit not involved in what I was doing. And that for the first 5 holes. I think there's a comment that we're going to put here now that I sort of think is one of my next challenges as well I need to work on. Quite interesting, like I don't know how to feel about whether, like, am I trying to win this event, or is it just like video series? It is my first win, so I should be thinking about winning. I need to get that in my mind a little bit, I think, before we go out. And as you can see there, my mindset before going out, I know that the project or the goal is to get my first professional win, but I've not got the tournament player's mindset at the moment. I'm very much from the world of YouTube for the past 5 or 6 years. When we're playing, it's all about the video. And as I was on that green, I very much slipped into like quick, just get it up. It doesn't really matter. Let's just get back into the place of play, which we did actually achieve. We were waiting on the next tee because it was a drivable par 4, as opposed to me being, you know, in the zone and focused. I need to get that little mindset going. But we get onto the 6, par 4, like I say, down the hill, drivable at 320, hit an absolute belter. So I've hit 2 drives in a row, gone exactly where I wanted to. This one literally pulled up 10 paces shy of the front of the green. I've then left myself a 52, and like I've said with Shane in my chipping video, that 52 bump and run shot is my bread and butter. I can go to it every time, feel very confident over it. And here, even though there was a slight undulation, just open the face ever so slightly just to get a little bit more elevation. Hit a great little chip in that left me 3 foot for a very comfortable birdie. So after 6 holes, there's been a couple of sloppy bogeys there, both with a pitching wedge in hand, ironically. A 3 putt, which is very uncharacteristically, but I'm quite happy with the first 6 holes, because what I've been able to do as I was going along here, I've been able to grade each shot on that 1, 2, 3 scale and not be too focused on the score. I would say I was aware that I was level par, but I was more focused on, well, actually, I've got some drives going where I want to. I've chipped it well again, not putted the best or not putted like I would normally do, and my irons were just a little bit out of sorts. So we move into the next section here. We're teeing off on 7 and a pretty decent drive here. The good thing is that it was going towards target. Just a little bit misstruck, but it wasn't a disaster shot. When I've hit poor drives, they've really been off the planet in the last few rounds, as where this one just a little bit misstruck and just misses the fairway by literally 1 yard here. Left myself a pitching wedge and hit this one to 30 foot, just pulled it ever so slightly. The pin was on the right and I was airing a little bit more cautiously because there was a bunker to the right and the safe side was to miss to the left, which I did, and overall it was a shot that I would have graded as a 2. It was okay, it was good enough, and left me a putt from about 30 feet down the hill. I'd actually seen my playing partner Reese go before me and he held it, which really helped, and I hit my putt on line, just under hit it as this putt was going, and left myself a pretty simple tap in. So very happy with that 4 there. It was sort of the what I want my golf to be, 2 mediocre golf shots that result in a stress-free par and a look at birdie. On the next, a par 3 now. Hopefully we could hit a good tee shot, but this left shot just seemed to creep in, this pull hook. It was like a sort of 5-10 yard draw I had each time that was starting on target, and I was obviously trying to fade it the other way back. So I was starting it left and working it even more left. Left me in a pretty sticky situation here.
Struggling getting
but
this
was
face
again
open.
quite happy to have the chip. I've been excited about every chip that I've had over the past couple of weeks when we have been playing. I've been thinking, right, I'm confident about this. I know what I want to do. Hit a great chip, left it up to about 5 feet here and just missed the putt. I think one of the things that with the putting is happening at the minute, because we are playing winter greens, there's a lot of wear around the greens, and just those short ones, unless you're really confident, I'm trying to feed them in a little bit and they're just wiggling a little bit offline. It just missed, and I'm walking away and thinking, oh well, it's not too much of an issue, you know, I would have liked to have held it, but a bogey, a soft one to give back, but it was more down to the tee shot. On the 9th then, a par 4 again that you could drive, 335 yards, sort of in straight right with the wind. Hit a great drive. There's 4 bunkers that run up from about 260 all the way to the front of the green, and I managed to pitch it in the front one right next to the green side. So a drive that I'd started online. I actually didn't think I would get there because that one was 310 yards, but absolutely smoked this drive and the wind just pushed it into the bunker. I thought I was going to leave it just shy. Unfortunately then, I opened the face a little bit too much on this wedge, and I thought I'd played it okay, but just caught it half a groove too clean, and it sailed over the back of the green. The pin was back of the green anyway, so the shot I was playing was about 35 yards up to the flag. Just caught it that whistle too clean, and unfortunately the lie that I had over the green, it's sort of mud ball on a bare lie, and felt a little bit hard done by here. This was probably the first time where my mind slipped and thought, right, okay, well, it wasn't about the outcome. Okay, it was a poor shot, but wasn't a million miles away. It was a difficult shot, and then just completely duffed the pitch because the mud on the ball got into my head. Unfortunately, we were only playing preferred lies on the closely mown. So I actually at one point looked at it and thought, well, could I sort of bump a 7-iron into the bank, but there was a little bit too much rough. Again, flubbed this one, and then left myself a little chip. Again, hit a decent chip from a difficult lie from a second attempt, and then held a nice putt. But soft bogeys here, and I think that's sort of where my golf is at the minute. I'm not making enough birdies, but I'm making pretty soft bogeys from good positions as well, generally, you know. That bunker shot there should have splashed that into the middle and 2-putted. But 2 over par after 9 holes. I was feeling fairly confident and thinking, well, if I hit it the way I've done off the tee and I can just get the blade going and hit a few more middle of greens for the back 9, we're going to be in a good spot here. The next, now the 10th, was straight into the wind, a par 3 that was 125. I picked 9-iron, hit it exactly how I wanted to. It just ballooned up into the wind, pitched at the front and spun back about 5 paces off the front of the green. Hit a pretty decent putt here. The fringe was nice, rolled it up, thought, okay, that's good. We've got 3 foot slightly down the hill. Just missed it coming down. Just a common occurrence at the minute, just missing these short putts on these greens. I think I need to maybe not rely on my putting so much and not do any work on it. I think I do need to get a little bit more practice in. Still know that it's the strongest part of my game, but work on those ones that, you know, that you've got to grind over the 3 feet. I think what I said earlier about having that tournament player's mindset, I just walk up to it and think, okay, yeah, middle, and oh, I missed it. Oh, right, okay. And then actually went to tap the next one in, and it just caught one of the little air marks and jumped right, and lo and behold, we have a 4 putt from about 35 feet. So this is the first time my head's completely gone here, thinking, great, I've hit a shot I wanted to, and now I've just walked off with a 4 putt from nowhere. I walked onto the next tee, and it was the first time I've just thought, you know what, hit it, I'm not bothered now. And I was a bit annoyed actually walking off the tee to let my mindset get to that position. I'd hit it left, we managed to find it in the trees. I had a pretty difficult shot after here. It was a 9-iron that I had to punch from only about 100 yards, but managed to get that onto the green, hit a pretty decent shot here, and thought to myself, right, come on, check your attitude, let's get back to what Carl was said. You be in control of the shot, let the outcome be the outcome, let's get on to it. Hit a really nice put up here, just missed, and left myself a tap in. A 4 after thinking that the ball could have been potentially lost off the tee. I was happy with that. The next then we walked on, I checked my mindset, got into it and hit a great drive again. So I've had 3 drives that have been a little bit toey and gone left, and then I've had 3 drives that have gone exactly where I aimed them, and I've absolutely smoked them. So there's really positive signs for the driver coming, and I'm quite excited to see where that can go. Left myself a little pitch for about 30 yards here, over the corner of the bunker, up to the a raised green, and hit it into about 10 feet. I was fairly happy with this one. It was a delicate pitch, and gave myself a really good look at birdie. Hit the putt exactly where I wanted to here, right edge, saw it moving. It just didn't, it just catches the edge of the hole, and it's one that I'm, oh, come on, just please give me a putt. Normally I'd be holing these sort of things, but just at the minute going through a streak of not holing it. So after 12 holes, I've actually dropped 4 shots in the space of 3 holes. Had a bit of my old mentality was in there and let that mindset slip back in, but I was quite happy that I managed to check myself on that 12th tee, or just before the second shot on 11, and get back to it. The 13th hole then, the last little stretch of golf that we've got to play, I said to myself, come on, we can still do this, even if we get, you know, 2 over, I think, for how windy it was. Of course you don't know, second comp of the year, let's just try and do something here. 290 yards to the flag, downwind, I've hit 3 wood and pitched it pretty much near pin high, and left myself a little chip across the green. So I was really happy with that tee shot there. 3 wood, club that I really like hitting, really happy with that one. Leave myself that little 52, bump and run from an elevated point back down onto the green, hit a great shot in with this, and this is a shot that if I can play loads of these, if I can get myself into a position to play loads of these, I'm hitting them really well. I left this one at 3 foot and it left a pretty routine tap in, but after what's happened the past few holes, I actually spent a little bit of time of, right, come on, focus, get down. I actually felt a little bit more nervous over this one because I would have been gutted if I hadn't holed it, because I'd hit a great 3 wood, a great pitch, but luckily managed to roll this one in. Now we walk onto the 14th, and it was probably only the second tee shot where I felt a little bit daunted here. The wind was sort of down and off the left. It was gorse line down the right, trees all the way down the left. And I committed to my shot, but just held the face a little bit too much. I probably chose the wrong shot here off the tee. Knowing now if I would have played it, having played it again, I probably would have just hit 3 wood and gone in with maybe like a 4-iron or a rescue club into this par 5, because it wasn't the longest, but I just left the face open. It's wasn't as bad, anywhere near as bad as some of the push slices that I've had in the past, but we managed to find it just up on the right, past the greenkeeper's shed almost. I thought I had a pretty simple chip out. It was sat down in the rough, and I thought, well, just bump it out into the fairway. knock it on with maybe an 8 iron. You never know, you could hole a putt from 20, 30 feet if you hit a good 8 iron in. The ball just hopped out a little bit left, caught the one lonely tree, middle stump, and it shot out, back right across me. Nearly went out of bounds. And I thought, great, just what we need, just what we need. The shot then from there, we're running along the hole. There is a road just to the right. I thought, I've got to hook this back to get into play. I can't actually really chip out anywhere, so I hit this flighted hook and I absolutely crushed it. Best hook I've ever hit in my life. Unfortunately, it went sailing into a gorse bush across the fairway. I managed to hit like a 70-yard hook over the road and back into play and across the fairway, and unfortunately found a gorse bush. Had to take an unplayable from there. Wedged it over to about 11 feet, which was good. Unfortunately, just missed the putt, and it's a 7. And at this point, the round's got to the point now where it's taken pretty much about 4 hours, and my mind just went from here. Old me came back. I've made 7. Awesome. I've just gone to 5 over par, I think now, and I was done now. 4 hours, I was a bit cold. Old me came back, which wasn't good because I'd battled quite hard to get to that point. We walked on to the next, again just hit a hooky tee shot, struck it nicely, just got this pull draw going from nowhere. Threw it over the bunker to about 10 foot, didn't really take any notice of the chip. Missed the putt, tapped in, and off we go. And again, it was another one where I had to get onto the next tee and really check myself and say, right, come on, I don't want to go bogey, bogey, bogey finish here. Let's try and at least make 3 pars in a row. Let's at least get into the Carl mindset. Let's get a couple of 1s and 2s under our belt, and let's finish, you know, with a little bit of grit about you, Matt. Come on. Hit a really nice drive down the 16th then after giving myself a little internal, and was quite happy with that. Unfortunately, 7 iron, lo and behold, another pull hook. Absolutely flushed, pin high, over a bunker. At this point, I'm wondering whether golf is the sport for me, but we managed to keep the grind, we keep the fight going. It was a 2, it was struck out the middle, it was good enough, it was forwards. That managed to save me because I hit a really high tariff chip off a bare lie with a bit of mud on the golf ball again to about 8 feet, and managed to roll this one in down the hill, which I was very happy about. Kept me going for that par streak. On to the next, a par 3 up the hill. Who knows, could it be another hole in one? No, because I actually aimed right of the flag here, anticipating a little bit of a pull draw with the pitching wedge, and hit it bullet straight. Luckily, we got a little bit of a bounce to the hole, and we had about 15, 18 foot up the hill, which just managed to run over the side of the hole, but it was a nice par, so overall, okay, we've done what we need to do, a couple of 2s, we're ticking along. The next then was a par 5. Again, another tricky driving hole, but got the mindset right, hit a really solid drive, and from today, I think that's the biggest takeaway. We've got the driver going something like it should be. 530-yard hole, down the wind, smoked driver, and left myself 205 yards here into an uphill green, hit 5 iron straight down the banner here to about 10 foot, was really happy with that one. Eagle putt up the hill, I'm thinking this is it, this is the first time we're going to hole a putt all day of any note. What did it do? It snapped and it lipped out for me. Left myself with a little tap-in birdie to finish for a 5 over par, which seems to be the only score that I can shoot at the minute. Come rain or shine, put me on Augusta, put a tornado on, I will shoot 5 over. Put me on the easiest golf course with blaring sunshine, no wind, I will shoot 5 over. But I think there's a lot of good signs to come from today. I've got to keep practicing that mindset that Carl had about us, because there was a lot of shots where they didn't go to plan, but I was able to say, well, do you know what I executed there? It was a 1 or a 2. I can't be in control of the bounce or the wind or whatever it may be. There was a few times where I sort of checked out when it was getting a little bit slow and I wasn't playing well, so I've really got to work hard on that mental game. After the few dodgy tee shots, I would say there was a lot more good than there was bad with the tee shots. I actually had that being my best part of my game at 0.42 strokes lost off the tee for my tee shots in strokes gained. So that's a real improvement from where we've been. The iron approaches, I need to keep working on those. I need to keep working on what Damian's told me. I would think my grip was getting a little bit strong there and just got a little blasé. The short game, I would say I'm really happy with how the chipping's going. There was a few duffed ones in there, but I'm going to put that down to it being winter golf. We didn't get preferred lies. There was mud balls and there was some pretty stinky lies out there. Give it another month when the grass is starting to grow through and you know you're getting a little bit of relief under the ball. I really think that what Shane's taught me, some of the shots that I've been hitting, I've not been able to hit them from a long time. So I'm really happy, and that was my best, second best, 1.45 I lost there on strokes gain. And then putting, I think, very uncharacteristic for me at the moment, not holing anything, missing a lot from 4 feet and in that are just sort of wiggling around the hole. We can put that down a little bit too. Greens are a little bit softer and a lot of footprints around them. It's the same for everybody, but just seem to be catching those little bobbles at the moment that are taking it away from the hole. And you'll get days where they do go in and it just seems to be on the minute. I'm on a streak of missing them. I lost minus 3.7 strokes there to the field on putting. And I think I just need to get on the putting green, do a few more reps, get a little bit of that repetition of some drilled strokes and just holing out again and just getting that pressure situation. Now that I've got a card in my hand, they mean a little bit more. I've got to get that tournament mindset and just start learning to hole out again under that little bit of pressure. Now, as it goes, I'm quite happy with the progress we've made. 2 same scores, finished 31st with 31 points again. Finished a little bit worse down the leaderboard, but I would say we're going in the right direction. The work we're doing on the game, I think we've got to, you know, put a couple of weeks now into practice, maybe 3 weeks, and then get into the next competition. I think that's going to be a way. We've mentioned what the schedule is going to look like, but I think, yeah, give myself a little bit of time, let the courses get out of winter golf and then get onto sort of proper summer golf. And then I think I'm going to be in the right spot. So a lot of positives to take from today. That calm mindset, that driving's coming. Just got to get back on check with the irons, and I think we're going to be in the right direction. You know, so the winning score was actually 43 today. 3 players on that, then 42 and a ruck of 41. So I was 12 points behind. So it shows that there's a lot of work to do, but the lads who won that, you know, they're ex-tour players or playing out on Challenge Tour. So I think, you know, the pool that I'm playing in here, you know, is quite a good one. And obviously I've not played much pro golf in the last few years. So I think what we need to do is keep working, probably start playing more PGA North region, which I think gets started in April. So if we can do that, give myself some time to practice now, maybe play some in the reds, in a little bit of heat and not the cold, get the game all sewn together and then come out at the next competition feeling like I've had some real time to work on all the factors that we've been doing over this winter period. I think that we're going to be trending in the right direction. So it's been an interesting journey so far. It's been a bit of a gut punch in terms of scoring and a reality check, but it's a learning process and we've got to keep going. I'm happy to keep doing it, and hopefully you're taking something from these videos as well. Why not watch the video here with Carl and see what I talk about in the 1, 2, 3 strategy, because it will help your golf.